Usyk. They agreed with the Usyk win, and that's what was subjective. There was no massive difference. So it is what it is, and we'll see what happens in the future.
Now, clearly, as you described, you think your man won it, but there are obviously criticisms when anybody loses. One of them being, and I'm not sure if maybe Tyson would even agree, we know he's comfortable in there, but he seemed to take quite a bit of pleasure in clowning around. There was times when he had some success and didn't press the action, instead took a little a celebratory type of action instead of continuing on the fight.
He's done it in lots of fights.
But in a fight this close, do you think that those margins could have been the difference?
At that time, yeah, looking back on it, but those rounds that he was doing that in, he was winning those rounds, and they were scored for him if you look at the judges' card. So whether you're clowning or not, he won the rounds. What I would like to see him do was to take him out. There were times with, Usyk's obviously, he's a quality fighter. He's the first guy to, or is he the first or the second guy to unify cruiserweights and heavyweight titles? It's an amazing record. But there was times in the fight where I like to see Tyson use his jab a little bit more, even though he was winning up to that point when he got clipped. Use his jab, and the shot that Usyk was getting caught with was that uppercut. He was catching body shots and the uppercut. But it is what it is. You can look back on it. If only this happened, if only that happened. But it didn't happen.
Well, what happens next is a big question mark. It didn't sound like you or Tyson was committed to this rematch in October.
Well, we are committed because there's a contract signed. However, Tyson's wants to do it, and Usyk's got to want to do it. One of them says that I've had enough. That could be the case, and that'd be their choice. They're two guys who they gave everything in that ring, both of them.
But Usyk doesn't have the option to say he doesn't want to do it.
He can. He's a champion. He can say I'm retiring. I'm not saying he would, but he has an option, doesn't he?
But like you say, there is a contract, and if Tyson activates, unless Usyk retires, which seems unlikely, then it's going to happen. So what's the hesitation for Tyson to say, well, yeah, we get it on again?
He did immediately say that in the ring, but I told him, I said, wait, you've been away from your family since last December, 2 back-to-back training camps, no fight in between. It's a long time to be away from your family. You've got to make any decisions about anything. It's contracted. And if you want to go through it, you go through with it. But who's anybody to pressure Tyson what he should be doing? That's his choice. He's the guy getting in the ring. He's the guy who's taking the lumps, and that's how it is.
I think you're right. Nobody calls the shots for Tyson, clearly, but we do question what his motivation is for making these decisions, right? He says multiple times he doesn't care about legacy, doesn't care about the belts. I don't know if anybody really believes that 100%, but we don't know he cares about money, and maybe the AJ fight, even still, is a bigger fight, certainly a bigger fight for England, more money.
There are big, there's of course there's big fights out there. There's no doubt about that, because he comes to fight. He's a great fighter, and up until this was his first defeat. But, it'll be his choice. I'm not even going to, when I speak to him about it, I'm not even going to try and influence him. What do you want to do?
All right, let me talk to you as a promoter. I know Tyson's your man. That's, you're going to back whatever he says. But as a promoter, right, going into a rematch with Usyk and potentially losing 2 fights in a row maybe makes that AJ fight less attractive, less big. Who knows what AJ does if he wins the IBF? Yeah. What do you think is the smart move for Fury up next, potentially October or early 25?
He's a very, very wealthy guy. If he fights for money, big purses, and they're huge purses, he fights for them, then he improves his bank balance. Can he spend the money that he's got? No, he can't spend it. It's just he's made so much money. So that's got to be his choice. What does his family want to do? What's his wife want to do? What his kids want him to do? He's been away from them for nearly 6 months. He's been in a training camp, not really seeing his family, except for the little break he had in between when he got cut. So that'd be his choice. And I don't think he'd even weigh it up like that. At the end of the day with Tyson, he either want to fight or he doesn't want to fight. What I said to him is, if you're going to retire, don't retire and then say you want to come back in a month's time. which he does sometimes, which he's done a couple of times. So it's better just think through. There's no pressure. There's zero pressure for this.
And those are the words of Frank Warren in regards to his fighter, Tyson Fury, which has just recently been beaten by Alexander Usyk. And there is uncertainty that a rematch will happen. Of course, we heard both fighters say rematch. But Frank, as you heard, is not really all for it. He's like, hey, why don't you see your family first? Then he mentioned a fight in between. You know, take time, think it through. Don't say you're retired, then come back and say you're rehired. And my counterpunch is, I think Frank wants Tyson to rest, wants him to take time. He's saying there's no pressure. And when I hear Frank say that, what I think about is, mostly, is the waiting game. See, he said it's contractual. He has to do it unless Usyk retires. Usyk can retire, but so can Tyson. And he knows that. And I think him saying that, hey, take your time, see your family, take a load off, you made a lot of money, you can't even spend the money that you have. I look at that as Frank not wanting an immediate rematch with someone like Usyk. I see this as that uncertainty, that advice that he gave Tyson. I think it's a way to say he really doesn't want to fight, unless not right now. Because what happens, this is what happens with Usyk. Usyk's still unified. Without the IBF or whatever, he's still a unified champion. He's just undisputed right now until these belts start to decide whatever they want to do and wherever they want to go. Okay, and they give him the option to, you know, fight or flight. You're either going to fight for these belts or we're going to take these belts. Or you can vacate the belts to keep us from taking the belts. He can do that. But more than likely, if Usyk wants to stay around and defend that undisputed title or that unified, newly unified title, along with the attachment of the Ring magazine, which is the lineal title, he'll probably do that. And then it would probably be a better outcome for Tyson not fighting Usyk. Instead, Usyk fights somebody else. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of fighters out here that he could fight. I get Caballero, or they can push for a Joshua Usyk 3. You know, that could always happen. Or another mandatory on that end with the WBA. Okay, so you got the WBA in there, which he fulfilled last year. But so it's left the WBC if the IBF already does their thing. You know, so it's always somebody to fight for Usyk, especially when so much is on the line and people really will look at him like they looked at Lomachenko at 135 when he had those belts before he lost them to Teofimo, okay? Also, I think that I agree with Radio Raheem. You know, a lot of times people ask questions and it may be like, hey, the people want to know. It may be you from Radio Raheem here. I think that in a fight like that, you know, being that close, how he put it, showboating, was that the best option? And to answer that question to everybody, the answer is no, it was not. See, showboating doesn't win fights. Had he continued fighting Usyk the way he should have, instead of sit back and admire his progress and sit there and bloat and gloat, he should have been putting in work. That's what makes Floyd different. Floyd ain't going to hit you and say, ha, see. No, Floyd's going to continue winning the fight. Okay, that's that same element that Usyk has. Usyk ain't going to sit there and play with you. He's there to fight you. He's there to box you. He's there to pressure you. He's there to challenge you. He ain't there to play and showboat with you. He's not going to do that. He does enough of that outside the ring. He ain't going to do it inside the ring. Okay? And that's the wrong approach to that fight that Tyson should have had. A fight to that magnitude should never been played with. Okay? That's what happened to Tyson Fury. He thought this was a game. Okay? And he tried to use it and be tranquil with it, and he was in there with the wrong one. But you guys tell me what you think of Frank Warren. Uncertain that he even wants Tyson Fury to take the immediate rematch by his own words, by his own admission. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace!